They're a little sneaky. It's a pretty large chunk of chicken in the woods here. I'm gonna try my usual practice, but I think I'm gonna just bisect the whole thing, cut it in half here, make it a little easier to deal with. This mushroom also has some eucalyptus stuff growing through the middle of it. And it looks like it has a bug in the middle of it too, so let me yeet that outside real quick. You can see here the rings of growth in a chicken in the woods mushroom, because it's an indeterminate mushroom. So it's not preformed in a pin, instead it grows in series. I'm going to be sort of carefully cutting this up and trying to cut along the rings of growth. Oops, I think I'm cutting this the wrong direction. Doesn't really matter. Sort of matters. Let's see what we can do here. Feels a little bit like a tri-tip, you know? There's definitely a right way to cut tri-tip, but depending on where you are in the tri-tip, it's not always clear which direction you should cut. So try to be careful here. I did cut my finger pretty good about a week ago, so I'm trying to be careful with it, but there you go. You can see those rings of growth. Nice fatty pieces of chicken in the woods. The mushroom itself doesn't really taste like chicken. It does sort of look like it, but there's not a lot of real chicken flavor. It has sort of a light lemony flavor, which is fine. It's not like the tastiest thing in the world on its own, but just like chicken, which I don't think is the tastiest thing in the world, it takes on flavors really well. And so that's where this mushroom really shines, is when you treat it like chicken and you season it like chicken and you give it all of the same treatments and sort of respect that you would give to chicken. You know, and sometimes, yeah, breading and frying a piece of mushroom can be a little more work than you might want to do, but you end up with a product that is really, really phenomenal. So for me, it's worth the work when we do it. And this mushroom also freezes really well. So if you harvest it and want to cook it up, you can just roast it off and save it for later, which is what I'm doing with this batch. I have eaten enough of it recently, and I have enough around that I really don't need to eat this now, so I'm going to just roast it, and then pop it in the freezer and keep it for later. And probably give some away too, because I already have like 3 bags of this mushroom in the freezer. You know, if anyone out there in Instagram land is near Napa and wants some chicken in the woods, you can hit me up. I'd be willing to share. So this part of this is a little, parts aren't quite as tender, and I have plenty here, so I'm gonna be picky. I'm gonna cut off some of the parts that are kind of white and a little too woody.
Hi, how are you?
Because I just don't need them. I'll put them outside for the slugs. Yeah, just take that chunk off. Yeah, once it gets really white and fibrous and kind of gets really pilly like this, it's not so good to eat. So, let's see. Someone's asking me how long to stay fresh in the freezer. I've eaten it a full year later, and it was still good. So, I mean, I think you could probably keep this kind of somewhat indefinitely. Mushrooms generally keep really well in the freezer. If you do kind of a quick saute or a blanch or some kind of roast, and then just freeze them in a bag. You know, clearly they'll be better if you use one of those like really nice vacuum sealed bags. There'll be less kind of odd flavors and stuff that creep in. But for the most part, yeah, mushrooms freeze super well. It's a great way to preserve a bunch of mushrooms. Which is pretty necessary with this chicken in the woods because holy cow, I find so much of it. I went down to my sort of favorite spot in Napa today just to look around because it had been a little bit cooler the last couple of nights, and there they were. You know, it was cool nights, and all the eucalyptus were just flush with this mushroom. I left lots down there. Cut out these little sticks and branches and stuff that tend to be in these. Just take that. So this is mushroom butchery. We are cutting up mushrooms to eat, and the way that you cut them influences the flavor and the texture, the mouthfeel, all sorts of stuff. So normally when I do these kinds of live sessions, I do them on TikTok, but I figured I'd log on to Instagram and give you guys a little real-time view of what I'm doing in the kitchen. Because normally I just post it on my story. And in some ways that's all I ever really want to do because it's stressful to be on a live broadcast. Oh my goodness. You guys see that? There's a bug crawling around there. I'm going to go yeet that bug outside. Yeet, yeet, yeet. There's some pieces of eucalyptus bark deep down in this thing that are kind of hard to grab out. There we go. Just trim sort of the tough edge off the bottom of this big rosette. So, okay, we want to cut along this way, so we're going with the shelves. There we go. Yeah, that's what we want. See that? All those nice rings of texture, rings of growth. That gives a really nice sort of meaty muscle texture in the mouth that makes it feel even more like chicken when you're eating it. I've got way more than I can fit onto these two trays here, but I'll do my best to cram it up. It usually takes me 2 or 3 rounds of roasting, get all the chicken wings done. All right. And as I go along here, I like to keep the pieces pretty big because they're better texturally when you have a big. I don't cut it very thick, mind you. It's only about 1/4 of an inch. But a nice big piece will give you sort of a chicken cutlet-like thing, which is easier to cook with if you want to make chicken parms or sandwiches and stuff like that. But the little pieces are good for nuggets and snacking too. So definitely don't let anything go to waste. But sometimes things are sort of like prone to breaking off anyhow, so I'll just kind of let them break along the natural edge. Yeah, so this is a piece that had a big hunk of eucalyptus bark running all the way through the middle. Ooh, that's a pretty piece. Check that out. Yoo-hoo. I don't even really want a piece that big. Sometimes you have to ask yourself a question. Just because it's possible, is it what I want? Don't always know the answer. yummy. There's that hole from the one eucalyptus stem. I'll use that to kind of break along the edge here. That's a really nice big piece. I'll make a good sandwich someday. Okay. Let's see. So we got a few more pieces here. I don't think we're gonna make it onto the tray. So maybe I'll just pop these little pieces on there. Call it a day. So yeah, for anyone who's watching but doesn't really know what I'm doing, this is chicken of the woods, Laetiporus gilbersonii, the west coast chicken of the woods. Grows west of the Rockies, whereas Laetiporus sulphureus tends to grow east of the Rockies. And this mushroom grows prolifically here on eucalyptus trees in Napa. I posted about it today. And after I did a post, I was like, I bet there's probably more out there. So I went out and found a few more big hunks. And I've got enough in the fridge that I'm probably not going to eat any of this stuff now, but I am going to roast it. And I'm going to freeze it for later because it freezes really well. And I can share this with friends and family and anyone who's interested in mushrooms. So yeah, like I said, if you're around Napa and you want some chicken in the woods, I have plenty. So I just do a really simple roast on these. Just put a little oil. This is a neutral oil, like a peanut oil, one that doesn't have a lot of flavor but has a good high smoke point. Because I want to put a lot of heat into these to make sure they're really thoroughly cooked before I freeze them. And that way I can take them out and use them right away because they're already sort of cooked. So drizzle a little oil on and come on with some salt. Mushrooms can take quite a bit of salt. They're kind of like potatoes in that respect. You can definitely season them up to about 2% weight with salt, and it won't taste too salty. It just kind of makes them taste more like themselves. Okay. Mushrooms are ready to go in the oven. So, yep, yeah, I'm seasoning before roasting. It's just oil and salt. That's all I'm doing right now. Not even pepper, because pepper will burn in the oven. So, pretty simple. But like I said, I just roast these to process them now. And what do you guys think of the lobster shirt? Good shirt. This was done by Lindley. So if anyone follows Lindley, you should thank her for this amazing design. I'm such a huge fan of it. I now have it on an apron on my website and on a dish towel, as well as t-shirts. But I'm looking forward to getting the apron, because every time I cook, I end up getting oil all over myself and I ruin my t-shirts. So now I can have a lobster chef apron, and I'm excited about that. So I'm going to put this in the oven. It's been sliced about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to do probably about 375 for about 25-30 minutes. If I'm on top of it, I'll flip them halfway through. I put a little bit of just very, very basic seasoning, oil, and salt on top. Nothing fancy right now because I'll add flavor later when I cook it. But I'm just gonna pop it in the oven, set a timer, and I'm gonna go outside and have a beer. So, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me cut up chicken in the woods, because I haven't done that before on Instagram, but there you go. So, chicken in the woods, good stuff. Yeah. Okay, I'm signing off. Bye guys, have a good one.